want to first welcome, I want to welcome you all and just introduce myself. I'm going to be tonight's moderator. My name is Christine Edwards, and I'm the founder and principal consultant at Amplify Charlotte. We are a community engagement firm here in Charlotte. I grew up here. I love everything about Charlotte. And what we've been doing to get out the vote is we've been hosting just educational workshops and just really just talking to people about voting. And I want to go pass it over to Pastor Jerry Cannon. He is the co-state director for Proctor Power the Polls, and we're so honored to have him here. If you please could bring some greetings to our event tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Christine. Greetings, everybody. I am sitting here in my mother's living room under the portrait of my grandfather, who was born in August of 1865. So he was born after the Emancipation Proclamation, but still in the rural South, born into a season of slavery. So I sit here to remind myself that I am just one generation removed, but also with a great responsibility. And so as state director of the Proctor to the Polls rally and gathering, it's a joy, an honor and a pleasure and great responsibility. So thank you, Christine, for putting this together, and greetings to all. To my counterpart, Miss Renee out in Arizona. Thank you for interrupting your 3 o'clock. Was it 3 or 4 o'clock? I don't know what time it is in Arizona, but thank you for giving us more sunshine.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing at the state level as well. So what we're going to get into is I'm going to first talk about, Amplify, and we're going to actually do some trivia. So we're going to jog your memory a little bit. And then we're going to hear from Cesar Cardenas, with the Hop Caucus. And then we're going to hear from Trey Gibson with Common Cause, North Carolina. And then we're going to close it out with Proctor Power the Polls. And we're going to be talking about how you all can actually get paid to be poll workers and how you can get involved. All right, so to start off, let's see here. Again, 2020 voter engagement. It looks a lot different than it has in previous years, right? 2020 engagement is very, very different. A lot of times we think about voter engagement only in one way or one facet, right? We think about, okay, how to vote, and then maybe sometimes we think about what party are we going to vote for. But what I want to introduce is a three-way approach, right? A three sort of pillar approach around voter engagement. We're talking about how to vote, because 2020 is different, of course, due to COVID-19, and of course, due to the political climate that we're in. So we're talking about early voting. We're talking about mail-in ballots. We're talking about your voting locations. That's the how, okay? But we also want to talk about what's on the ballot. It's not only important to look at the top of your ballot and look at those nationwide races, right? It's also important to look all the way down the ballot to your local level as well, because, all politics are local. I'm a former local government employee, and I happen to know that the decisions that are made at the local level sometimes impact your life a lot more. So you want to see what's on the ballot. And number 3 is how to get involved. Again, 2020 is very different because of a lot of reasons. And so it's more than just going out on November 3rd. It's about getting involved throughout the process. All right. Okay, so I promised you some trivia. I'm not gonna take too long on this, but look, we all went through civics at some point, probably, either in, middle school or high school. And we've been talking about civics quite a lot lately. So what I want y'all to do is you can either unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat. I'm going to go down the list and you all tell me, what document is this from, or what item in history? Number 1, all men are created equal. Who knows it? Oh, this was the easy one, y'all. Which document is this from? Go ahead, Cesar.
Is that the Bill of Rights?
That is actually going to be your, you'll see. I have the answers on the next slide. Does anybody else want to take a stab at that one?
I'll take a stab.
Yeah,
All men are created equal. Is this from the Declaration of Independence?
that's correct. All right. Yeah. All right. And so what about number 2? Whenever we say with liberty and justice for all, where does that?
Our pledge allegiance.
That's right. Pledge of Allegiance. Now, if you could name the 3 inalienable rights that every person has a right to as a citizen. You have the right to blank, blank, and blank. One of them has a movie named after it. Oh, wait, is it in the chat? That's correct. Life, liberty, and justice for all. All right, you guys are remembering now. All right, now the Bill of Rights, those are the first 10 amendments on the
Constitution.
That's right, the U.S. Constitution. And then the last one is these 3 freedoms make up what? The freedom of religion, press, and the freedom of speech all make up what?
The First Amendment.
That's correct, the First Amendment. All right, good job. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. So yeah, so you know we've been talking so political lately, and we have almost forgotten, you know, what is the foundation of, you know, of voting? What is the foundation of why we're even doing this? So I really wanted to just remind everybody, and it's kind of a fun trivia thing. So, all right, we're gonna move on. And basically, so Amplify Charlotte, we do programming around local government trivia, not necessarily trivia, but local government education, civic awareness, community engagement, and we also do community engagement consulting. So that's us. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our partner at the Hip Hop Caucus. Cesar, take it over.
Thank you. It's nice to be here with you all today, and I feel like this has just been such a great season to plug in all over the place. I'm truly inspired by all the energy, great energy I'm seeing just across the country. You know, there's a groundswell of activity, and I'm so happy for community and seeing what's going on out there. So everyone should give themselves a round of applause about that too. So I work on coalitions and issues for the Hip Hop Caucus. We recently mobilized our Respect My Vote platform to help voters through the voter registration and get out the vote phase in 5 key states, including North Carolina. Our guiding theme this year is 2020 is the year of the truth, and you know, we're focused on ensuring communities are able to vote amidst the COVID-19 crisis, with an emphasis on informing, educating formerly incarcerated people, right, and helping folks exercise their right to vote despite those circumstances, and obviously our historic focus on young people and inspiring them through education and conversation around issues such as systemic racism and climate justice. You know, there hasn't been a more critical time than now to exercise that right, you know, for young Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, right to vote. We look at our politics through the lens of hip hop. We think that hip hop is youth. And so, you know, we believe that there really is no separation between us and politics, right? On like a day-to-day, these things affect us all sort of like deeply on a personal level every day, and so that's why it's so important to make sure that this political system works for us. Our team is here to help you get registered and to motivate you to get out and vote this year. Much of that information, including how to request the absentee ballot, checking your registration, along with the issues that matter to our communities, can be located at respectmyvote.com. This is, like I was saying earlier, this is an all hands on deck approach. And so we want folks to make that plan to vote. You were alluding earlier to the options, right, that people have, including the early vote, voting absentee, right, or by mail. And for some, that may mean also voting in person. I'm particularly encouraged, right, that North Carolina has same-day voter registration. And so I really encourage folks to take advantage of the early vote period, which runs from the 15th to the 31st in North Carolina. And to tune in. Our event, our GOTV event in North Carolina is on October 20th. I'll be circulating information about that, to the viewers today. And that way we can really start moving towards doing something about all this loss that we've felt this year, the injustice that folks have dealt with historically, right? And like I said earlier, start making sure that our government is working for us and honoring the lives that have been lost, and fighting back to make sure that we're taking back our freedoms starting in 2020 and moving forward.
Awesome. Can you, what was that event again? Can you talk about that event again on the 27th, did you say?
So the GOTV event we're hosting for North Carolina is on the 20th, on October 20th. And that will be, we'll be live streaming that on Facebook. The agenda is in process, right? But it will include local community members, right? Folks that know about the issues in North Carolina. We want to make sure that people are connecting the dots and that they understand exactly why, right? The vote does matter, not just in the presidential, but beyond that, right? And let's look at this Ruth Bader Ginsburg nomination, for example, the Supreme Court nomination, and how important that is, right? Like we got a president right now that is in office. He lost the popular vote. We have a Senate that represents less than 45% of Senate majority that represents less than 45% of the entire country, right? And these people are nominating someone who is going to be there for life and making decisions that, from voting rights to climate to so many things, right, that are going to be affecting us forever, right? And so, or quite possibly forever. So it's very important to connect, to be connecting those dots for voters, and that's the kind of thing that we're gonna folks can expect to hear about on the 20th, as well as some of the more granular and kind of like local issues, and certainly with through that cultural lens, right, and through the lens of hip hop and music.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll have an opportunity for questions. If you have any questions for any of the speakers, we'll have a opportunity for that towards the end. All right, so next we're gonna go to Ms. Trey Gibson with Common Cause North Carolina. If you wanna go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I will go ahead and get your slides ready.
Awesome. Thanks, Christine. I'm very excited to be here, part of this conversation this evening. So Common Cause North Carolina, we're a nonpartisan organization with a mission to uphold the core values of American democracy and build a government that is fair and truly representative of our diverse society. So across the state and across the country, our members are engaged in efforts against gerrymandering, mass incarceration, voter suppression, and other issues that are at the intersection of democracy and justice. And our response to COVID-19 in North Carolina was to join the coalition of organizations advocating for safer election laws and also for increased government transparency during remote proceedings. And in addition to that, our HBCU Student Action Alliance also engages students at all of North Carolina's HBCUs to create grassroots campaigns that are led by our amazing democracy fellows. So this year, what we're doing is, working to stop voter suppression and racist voter intimidation. We know that the coronavirus pandemic has disproportionately harmed Black and Brown people, and we just won't allow racist attempts at voter suppression to create additional barriers to voting for people of color. So we are recruiting nonpartisan vote protectors who will serve as poll monitors to help in shifts during a few of the in-person voting days, including on November 3rd on Election Day. And vote protectors are volunteers who will monitor precincts in Charlotte while observing the necessary guidelines to avoid contact, because we're very mindful of that. But ultimately, the role of a poll monitor is to identify and respond to any concerns that may arise, such as long lines or voters who have questions about their eligibility. And as needed, vote protectors will also report to the national hotline, the 1-866 Our Vote number as well. And if anyone is interested in serving as a vote protector, or if you just would like to get plugged into other volunteer opportunities, you can visit www.protectthevote.net or the Common Cause website to join the Charlotte Action Team. The next and final training for vote protectors is coming up on Monday, October 12th, and it is required if you would like to be a vote protector. And we're also just working to educate the community about the recent changes to the election laws so that everyone can make a plan to vote. We know that as of today, there are 27 days until Election Day, but voting in North Carolina has already started. Thousands of voters have already cast an absentee ballot in this election. So as has already been said, North Carolina offers no excuse absentee voting by mail, and it is a safe alternative for voters who do not want to vote in person. If you do choose to vote by mail, you can request your ballot today, and you can also track the status of your ballot from the moment that it is requested to the moment that it's submitted. All the absentee ballots come with a unique barcode to help voters keep track of it, so that's pretty cool. And if you do vote by mail, it's really important to follow the return instructions exactly as they're printed to ensure that it is accepted by the County Board of Elections. I've included a picture here so people can kind of get a feel. Oh, I was on the other slide, but just so you can kind of see like what the witness section looks like. You do need one witness signature to cast your absentee ballot in addition to your signature. And other than that, you can visit ncvoterguide.org to look at an interactive voter guide with information about candidates on your ballot and where to vote. And on the next slide, I have some information about early voting sites in Mecklenburg County. This year, Bank of America Stadium, Bojangles Coliseum, and Spectrum Center will all be early voting sites as well, which is really exciting. So whatever you all choose to do, just make a plan to vote and just plan early.
Great, thank you so much. Is it okay if we talk a little bit about this, the vote protectors and the sort of poll monitors? So I remember in our last conversation, you said they're all going to be wearing these yellow t-shirts so you can easily identify them. What kind of things are they going to be responsible for throughout the day? And then how do you identify between someone who's there officially versus someone who's not there in official capacity?
That's a really good question. So like you said, the people who were there as official volunteer vote protectors in North Carolina will have the bright yellow shirts that have the vote protector number. And that's how you'll know that they are a nonpartisan poll monitor who is there to answer any questions or help with concerns. And some of the things that they'll be trained to be on the lookout for are, long lines at polling places, any attempts at voter suppression. If we see, gangs of people showing up who support any or either candidate, those are things that we would say are attempts at intimidation, and people should really be able to go and cast their ballot without fear of intimidation. So you'll really just kind of be our eyes and ears on the ground if you are a vote protector to really just respond. And we hope that we don't see any issues But if they do come up, it's really important to have people there who can kind of respond to them.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. All right. Like I told you guys, we're not going to take up too much of your time. So we're going to move into sort of our last speaker. But then after we have our last speaker go and talk, we're going to open it up for questions. And I would love to do a little bit deeper dive on some of these issues. So start thinking about what questions you may have, and we're going to move on. All right. Thank you, Trey, for sharing. All right. So we're going to go back to and just talk about, again, Proctor Power the Polls. You know, they are the presenting sponsor for this evening, and we really want to drive home the idea around becoming a paid poll worker and really just getting involved at that level. So Pastor Cannon, do you want to talk about your involvement? I want to put your flyer up here. Would you talk about your involvement with this organization and what you all have been doing? I think you're on mute there.
I am. I understand old people give us a break. It takes us some time to get these buttons to work. Thank you very much. Yes, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am excited to be a representative of Proctor Power the Polls. But before I get into that, thank you, Trey, for your presentation. A couple of things that we are doing, when I say we, it's like me and my people that eat donuts with me. We were trying to come up with some creative ideas of making sure those long lines don't become a deterrent. And so I am in conversation, Trey, with V101 and WPEG about using a call-in number. So for instance, if you are at Beatty'sford Road and you say, hey, we got a 30-minute wait, somebody says I'm at university and there's no wait, at least on the radio, they can say, look, y'all, there's a 30-minute wait at Beatty'sford Road. There's no wait to university. If you go down to Richardson Y, or if you go down to the stadium, we want to be able to communicate that in a live update. So after this meeting, Trey, call me, because I do have a connection there, and we're working on that at both of those stations, okay? And
thank you. Yeah, I will reach out.
Yes, yes. And the other thing we're trying to do is that I'm talking with the Democratic local committee to make sure that the parking, both at the stadium and at Spectrum Center, is going to be validated, i.e. free, okay? Because you don't want to come downtown and have to pay $9 to park your car and then go vote. So those are some pieces that come to our attention in some caucusing. But anyway, back for the purpose of this call, Ms. Edwards has invited me to talk about Proctor Power the Polls. Yes, this is an opportunity to work at the voting polls and to get paid. And we have researched, our flyer says from $100 to $200. I am proud to report, as of this afternoon, I spoke with the County Board of Elections in Cabarrus County. So the base pay there, Cabarrus County, is $175, and the state of North Carolina this year is bonusing $100. So whatever you're getting paid, Mecklenburg, Cabarrus, Rowan, whatever the fee is, the state is kicking in an extra $100 if you work that day. So you put the numbers together, Ms. Edwards, we're talking $275 to work the polls. And if you have gone through in-person training, that's an extra $25. So that's $300 to be a poll worker, an election poll worker. I got to put that because whoever's watching this, that poll word is anyway. This is election poll workers, to which we are saying that you can be paid $300 per day, up to. Even if you are on reserve, you get paid $100. So you've got to sign up. You've got to go to Proctor Power the Polls, as you see. Ms. Edwards has it on the screen. And if you are listening by way of audio, that's www.proctor, P-R-O-C-T-O-R, power, POWERTHEPOLLS.com. Again, Proctor Power the Polls. So if you go there and you sign up, is going to send you to your state board of election. You indicate your state, you indicate your county, and you register. But then make sure, this is important, that you go back and you indicate that you've signed up through Proctor Power to Poll. Matter of fact, when you go Proctor Power to Poll, it's going to take you directly to the state board of elections. Okay, so that's how it happens. You register, and you answer those questions. You do the training, and not only are you paid, but you are exercising a very important civic duty and responsibility. So I'm going to pause right there, Ms. Edwards, and entertain any questions you may have, or any questions that someone may pop in the chat box.
Yes, do y'all have questions about the Proctor Power to Polls initiative at this time? I know that we have some folks who are heavily involved with this initiative on the call. I invite you to weigh in and let us know. We know that there's an extreme shortage of election poll workers, but we know that there's been work done on this. Is there an update that you can share at this time?
Yes, I see Reverend Jerry from Chicago, and I see my dear friend Miss Renee from Arizona, and that we are really pushing, because the last day to register is October the 9th. That is right around the corner. So we're talking Friday. Friday's the last day to register. So we want to make sure that persons are able to do that, i.e., that is register to vote. Register to vote.
That's correct. Register to vote. Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm not going to put y'all on the spot. I know that there's going to be information coming out about this. And so we're going to do our best to share as much as we can. Okay, so we're actually going to move to the Q&A portion. And I want to open up the floor for questions at this time. I'm gonna check on my phone to see if we have any questions coming through on Facebook. So just give me one moment, see if any folks have questions. And then if you have them, if you don't want to speak, you can always put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and you can join us. Let's see. Okay, someone says, is it possible to post what each state we are calling? Yes, we're calling paying poll workers. I looked up Arizona because that's where I've been calling. Having a number actually helps quite a lot. Yes, so I think you're absolutely right. It's gonna depend on what state that you're in, but then as Pastor Cannon said, at the state level here in North Carolina, they're adding on that additional payment. But I do think if you go, I can actually show you guys. If you navigate to proctorpowerthepolls.com, I'm gonna go there in my web browser right now and just show y'all. It actually asks you to put in your zip code, okay? And so when you put in your zip code, it'll go to your local board of elections and it will show you the amount that, y'all see all my stuff here. It'll actually show you the amount because it has an application here, right? And so again, it sounds like you're in Arizona, but if you just put in your zip code here, it'll show you. You can actually get $100 to $200 for election day, and then an additional $25 for the training classes, $15 to set up precincts, $15 to return the election supplies. And so it could vary by state, and I don't have that information. I don't have, every state, on hand, but if you put in your zip code, it should show up.
Christine, can I add something about this real quick?
Yeah.
I think that this is an incredible opportunity, and I think it's a win-win, right, for everyone, especially in a year like this when voter intimidation is such a huge deal, right? And we're seeing that everywhere. I'm hearing of reports in Virginia, for example, of issues because it's an open carry state, right? And so the prospect of just intimidation and violence is at a high this year, and I think it's so important for Black and Brown communities to have folks that mirror, right, the communities at the polls. And so if folks are getting paid for something like this, I think that's what I mean by a win-win, right? Like, and so this goes way beyond it just being a gig for a few days. It's really a community service, I think, for that reason.
Absolutely, absolutely. No,
Thank you, Cesar, for saying that, because I'm actually driving to Richmond tomorrow with flyers in hand. I'm old school, so yeah, but I'm going to particular try to use my contact with some students around the Richmond area to see if they will sign up. I did speak with our colleague, Miss Renee, out in Arizona. She said she inquired about South Carolina, Christine. So that
Okay.
for students, particularly around in York County, and the fees that they were able to offer, it's $75, $75 to $135 per day, with $60. But if you do early voting, it's the $60. That's for a minimum of 3 hours. So that's $60 a day for early voting.
Awesome.
So yeah, there are ways to incentivize persons to come out. But thank you, Cesar, for saying it's more than just a side gig, a side hustle. This is something we have to let people know the importance of, and that's really the mission of Proctor. You know, founded by Dr. Wright and so many other great persons, of connecting the church to the community, and helping people recognize there's never been a disconnect as much as there is a perception thereof. So this again gives us some boots on the ground. And as Cesar and others have made reference to, you, Ms. Edwards, the importance of now. We are in a now moment.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. So, any other questions or comments at this time? I kind of want to shift gears because prior to the event, Trey and I had a conversation around some of the work she's doing with Common Cause around absentee voting and the mail-in ballots that are already coming in. Is it okay, Trey, if you talk a little bit about your experience and what you've seen there?
Sure, yeah. So one of the things that we've been looking at is just, like I said, voting, absentee voting has already started in North Carolina. So every day the State Board of Elections has an update in terms of who is voting by mail and what percentage of ballots are being accepted versus which ones are not being accepted. And because of a recent change to the North Carolina election law, mail ballots that have issues initially are not rejected, but the county boards of elections have up to 24 hours to contact voters to ask them to make corrections so that the process of verifying that absentee ballot can go through. But what we have noticed is that white voters in Mecklenburg County and in North Carolina in general have had their absentee ballots accepted at a higher rate than those of Black and brown voters in Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. And the number one issue that has come up has to do with that witness signature portion of the ballot. It's a pretty small detail, but it can make a huge difference, especially because the ballot requires that voters follow all the instructions exactly as they are included. So that includes providing the address, including the city and zip code of the witness who is providing the signature. So, I mean, the good news is that, you know, people are voting by mail, people are requesting their ballots, and it's very exciting. And we know that not everyone will choose to vote by mail, but if you are thinking about it, it's really helpful to know the ins and outs of it so that you can prepare yourself for that. And it's also just really good to know that, you know, you can request your absentee ballot now, you can request it today, even if you're considering voting by mail, but you don't have to use that option because we don't know what November 3rd will look like. So you can just have it as long as you postmark it by election day, it will be counted, but you can request that ballot now, even if you're considering it. And you can also turn in your absentee ballot to an early voting site or to a county board of elections. So you don't have to put it in the mail.
Got it. Thank you for that information. I actually got mine in the mail today.
Nice.
So I requested it probably over a week ago. And so I was getting a little worried because it hadn't come yet, but I got it in the mail today. I was actually going to go and just read through the mail-in ballot, but I also was planning to vote in person. And so I'm not planning on returning my ballot by mail. I actually am planning to go stand in line and vote in person, but I really wanted that experience. I wanted that experience to see what it was like. And I wanted to be able to share with others so they could know, how to return it and everything. So I actually have a document that was shared so that you guys can get an idea of the level of ballot requests that are coming in, and it's broken down by demographic. One second, here we go. So it's broken down by race and ethnicity, and I'm not, I'm trying not to draw conclusions from this, but this is the raw data that's coming from the State Board of Elections. I'm just going to scroll. So it says here in the middle, it says voters in Mecklenburg County are requesting absentee ballots at a higher rate than their statewide comparison groups, which is awesome. Here in Mecklenburg County, we're very much engaged. And I think we have over 700,000 registered voters in Mecklenburg County, and there are about 1 million people in Mecklenburg County. So that's a great, percentage. And so we hope that the turnout will reflect the number of voters who are actually registered. And down here, it says that Mecklenburg County also leads the state in requests for absentee ballots by young Black voters. Thank you, Trey, for sharing this information. I was like, oh man, we have to share this. We have to share this, at the event tonight, because again, I don't want to draw conclusions from it, but it's really, really sort of telling to show that, voters of color are getting very active, which is great. All right. Yeah, go ahead. Oh. And then you have it down here by party affiliation as well. And then you have it broken down by party affiliation, Mecklenburg County compared to the rest of the state. And then down at the bottom of this page, what Trey was talking about around the total of ballots that were returned versus the acceptance rate. All right. And then this is the one that really really made my eyes wide. The disparity between, when you look at the demographics here, between Black or African American and white and Latinx ballots that were returned. So we have a lot of ballots that are being requested, but again, they're not being returned. And you might have folks like me who, well, I want my ballot in my hand, but at the same time, I want to go and vote in person. So that could be what we're seeing here. All right.
And so, to Trey's point a little while ago regarding the some of the technicalities that are invalidating the absentees, I think it was already 3 weeks ago we were hearing reports that that the election staffers were examining the envelopes, right, for completeness of information when it came to like the witness information on the envelopes, and so it was that was concerning just because of how much more Black and brown communities send back those envelopes compared to others. So I'm happy to hear. I was happy to hear that folks already at least 3 weeks ago had an eye on that, and that's been messaged in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing the best we can to, inform people and educate people about, how to properly complete the ballot requests and send them back. And so thank you so much for the work you're doing with Common Cause. And thank you for sharing this information. I really just wanted to share that, y'all. I said, wow, that is so interesting. I really need to share this. But so I'm actually going to be able to give you guys some of your time back tonight. I didn't think this would take too long, but we are recording, so I'm going to make sure we have the video available for you all, so that you can watch it at your leisure, watch it anytime you want, share it with your people, and I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. I saw we had a couple of people join us in the past couple of minutes. You guys have any questions, the folks that just joined us? All right. Well, if there are no questions, I'm going to be able to give y'all.
See a hand raised.
Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Let's see. Go ahead and raise your hand. I didn't see it. Oh, Miss Scurry, please go ahead.
I was just going to share that I'm like you. I got my absentee ballot, and a lot of the ladies I know, I've recommended the same thing, to have it. I'm gonna have it all filled out, standing in line if everything permits, that things don't go off the roof. But have it already ready in case I need to drop it off. But my intent was to try to vote in person, but I got mine, and a lot of the ladies in my line dance group, all of us got our absentee ballots, and a lot of us are doing the same thing. We're either gonna go to the polls if it looks too crazy, or if it looks the line's too long and we feel like we can't stand in line, then we're going to go downtown and drop it off.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And all right. Anyone else?
And I just want to make a final pitch on the election protection angle. If folks are encountering any issues at the polls, what I'm hearing just over and over again is people should call 866-OUR-VOTE. And so, folks should be logging any incidents or anything like that, that we know will happen at some point. But again, that number is 866-OUR-VOTE.
Is that with Hop Caucus?
No, but we do sit at these tables with Lawyers Committee, right? And other organizations that are plugged into that initiative.
Awesome. Okay, good. Thank you for sharing that one. 866-OUR-VOTE.
That's right.
Love it. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to Pastor Cannon to close us out. And I also, we've had conversations about what you've been doing with your congregation, your ministry as well. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for the work you've been doing with Power the Polls, and with the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference as well. So I really appreciate you. If you could close us out, I know you are a busy man, and we're gonna move forward.
All right, thank you so much again for putting this together, for hosting. Tomorrow from 7:30 to 2 o'clock on our campus, 1421 Stacey Avenue, we are in partnership with Atrium Health for COVID-19 testing. And of course, while there, you can get information for Proctor Power Polls. Information will be passed out. And we invite you to, I guess, Ms. Trey, if you have some flyers or something that you want to share, that's fine. We've been averaging about 50 to 70 people to be tested on a regular basis, so it all depends. The first couple of hours are always packed, and then the latter part is a rush, so I invite you to come over for that, as well as other events in Charlotte. Like we said, we're going to definitely try to make sure we have a kind of an update on the lines, waiting there, and work with the local radio stations. And we hope to get really like a text line, Ms. Trey, where we can, and Ms. Christine, where we can actually, you can text to say there's a 30-minute wait at this polling site. And that way people can just get an update. So, and we've got a pretty good connection with some IT folk to make that happen. So to all of those gathered, thank you again for being here. Thank you for letting Proctor Power the Polls kind of host you tonight. And thank you for all the folk in Chicago who tuned in, and from Arizona, thank you for tuning in, and definitely the Charlotte and the New York crew for hanging out with us. Cesar, we got to get some of them shirts down here in Charlotte, man. You're rocking it, baby. Making it work. And I guess, Christine, that's it.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you all. Good night.
Bye now.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
All right.